This exchange didn't erupt with shouting. It didn't need to. What made it so unsettling was how ordinary it began. A senator asking a cabinet secretary to define one of the most basic protections in American law. And the fact that the answer came back so wrong tells you why this moment matters far beyond this hearing room.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Secretary. Secretary Noem, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff recently said that the Trump administration is actively looking at suspending habeas corpus. Last week you were asked about this, and I want to clarify your position because it's obviously really important to get this right. So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to...
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President Lincoln used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the Live Free or Die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So, Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has never
Let us be clear, though, that this president...
It has never been done without approval of Congress. Even Abraham Lincoln got retroactive approval from Congress. So I have been asking executive branch nominees a simple question over the past few months. If the president orders them to break the law, I've been asking, will you follow the law or follow the order? I want to ask you a more specific question here. If the president tries to suspend habeas corpus and a federal court reverses the president's order, will you comply with the court order and uphold habeas corpus, or will you follow the president's directive?
We are following all federal court orders and are complying with that, as is the president, and every decision that I make as well.
That is obviously not true for anybody who reads the news. There are federal court orders right now, including returning somebody who was deported mistakenly. But to be clear, this is about a fundamental legal right that ensures that we live in a free society instead of a police state that would have a sham legal system like Russia or North Korea. So I'm glad that you have now committed to following court orders. I'm glad you believe in the basic freedom for Americans if ordered to do so by a court. And again, I want just to make clear that it is critically important that even if the president tries to suspend the right of people to know why they've been detained or imprisoned, if a federal court reverses that order, that you will follow that order. And I hope all the members of the administration will, because it's obviously critical that some of the people, for instance, who've been deported by mistake, who didn't get due process, be returned in compliance with court orders. So now, let's move on to another issue. International criminal organizations target Americans with sophisticated cyber crime, including elaborate scams that robbed Americans of billions of dollars, with seniors in the United States losing $5 billion to scammers in 2024 alone. As artificial intelligence improves, so does the ability of criminals to deceive and defraud Americans. With this new technology, criminals can impersonate loved ones, develop advanced malware, or make more convincing phishing messages. How is DHS working to identify trends in illegal activity and ensure that new AI systems have safeguards in place to prevent their use in criminal activity?
Yes, we are working extensively through CISA, but in all of our agencies to make sure that we're going after these criminal, nefarious actors. I would say partnering with private industry is critically important so that we have the insight that we need to really understand the tactics that they use and the advancements in software. The AI ability that they have to adjust and to supersede some of our systems is incredible. And so investing in those systems is important, but also having sharing the knowledge and bringing everybody to the table and breaking down the silos between our agencies and our intelligence agencies is important, so we all have the information that we need to get.
Well, and that gets me to one final point and question here, because Senator Peters began to ask about it. There's been recent reporting that indicates that the Chinese government installed remote access to Chinese-made power inverters in the U.S., raising concerns that the Chinese government could try to disable parts of our power grid. And you made a comment following up on Senator Peters' question about the importance of not only working with private industry on this issue, as you would also want to work on AI, but also on working with state and local governments on cybersecurity. And can you just talk to me a little bit about how DHS is partnering with state and local governments right now on cyber?
Well, that's one of the core critical missions of CISA, is to help those state and local governments harden their systems. We're extremely vulnerable by our weakest link. And so when you have a small state that doesn't have the resources it needs to invest in these security operations, then they're vulnerable to attacks and hacking attempts, and they can access our systems. If they have a contract or a system that interfaces with the federal system, it makes us vulnerable as well. So we are responsible for 10 of the 16 critical infrastructures under the Department of Homeland Security, and making sure that China can't come in and shut down our electrical grid, our water systems, things that people rely on every day for their day-to-day lives is very important. So that's why we need these kind of partnerships, is to make sure that we're secure all the way down to our smallest actor that participates.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate working more with you on that. Thank you.
When Senator Maggie Hassan asks, what is habeas corpus? She's not testing vocabulary. She's testing whether the people entrusted with immense power actually understand the limits of that power. Habeas corpus is not an obscure legal technicality. It's one of the oldest safeguards in Western law, dating back centuries. At its core, it does one simple but powerful thing. It forces the government to explain itself. If the state locks you up, it must go before a court and justify why. No secret detentions, no vanishing people, no imprisonment just because those in power say so. That's why Hassan immediately stops Secretary Noem when she hears habeas corpus described as a presidential authority to remove rights. That description flips the Constitution upside down. Habeas corpus isn't a weapon for the executive branch, it's a restraint on it. And Hassan takes the time to explain this, not for Noem, but for the public watching. Without habeas corpus, she says, the government could arrest Americans, citizens, and hold them indefinitely without charges, without trials, without explanation. That's not a hypothetical. That's how authoritarian systems operate. That's why she invokes places like North Korea and Russia, not as rhetoric, but as warnings drawn from history. Then comes the deeper lesson. Even in moments of national crisis, suspending habeas corpus has never been treated lightly. The Constitution allows it only in extreme circumstances, and even then, Congress has always been involved. Hassan reminds viewers that not even Abraham Lincoln acted alone, and that was during the Civil War. He sought and received congressional approval after the fact, because he understood something fundamental. Unchecked power, even when well-intentioned, is dangerous. This is where the exchange shifts from education to accountability. Hassan isn't satisfied with general statements about supporting habeas corpus. She asks the question that actually matters in real life. If a president orders something illegal and a federal court steps in and says no, who do you obey? That question cuts to the heart of constitutional governance. The rule of law doesn't exist on paper alone. It exists only if officials are willing to follow court orders when it's inconvenient, politically costly, or embarrassing. When Secretary Noem says the administration is following court orders, Hassan pushes back because the public record says otherwise. Courts have already ruled against executive actions, including cases where people were deported by mistake without due process. These aren't abstract legal debates. These are human beings whose lives were upended because safeguards failed. And that's what makes this moment so important. Hassan isn't just defending a principle. She's defending the idea that mistakes by the government must be correctable, that power must be accountable, and that courts must mean something. By the end of the exchange, Hassan secures a commitment that matters, that court orders will be followed, even if the president disagrees. That may sound basic, but history shows it's anything but guaranteed. Democracies don't collapse all at once. They erode when norms are ignored, when legal protections are redefined, and when people stop noticing. This hearing was a reminder that constitutional rights survive only if people in power understand them, and if the public demands that they be respected. So here's the real takeaway for viewers. Habeas corpus isn't about criminals or immigration or partisan politics. It's about whether any of us can be detained without explanation. It's about whether the law stands above power or bends beneath it. And the next time you hear someone dismiss due process as an inconvenience, remember this exchange. Because once a government no longer has to explain itself, freedom becomes conditional. If this helped you understand why this moment matters, share it. And tell us in the comments, should any president of any party ever be able to suspend habeas corpus without Congress and the courts standing in the way?